Hey there, movie buffs, and welcome to another installment of the Italian-American saga. The last time we met up with Michael Cimino, the director had just scored his greatest career achievement to date, the Best Director Academy Award for The Deer Hunter. But long before that moment, thanks to advanced screenings for studio executives, Cimino had already secured the project that would seal his fate in Hollywood. Since its inception in 1919, United Artists stood out as an outlier in Hollywood, a studio run by the talent. Since Douglas Fairbanks, Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and D.W. Griffith started the company, the studio grew to become one of the most influential production and distribution houses in the industry. United Artists backed several titles that came to define the new Hollywood era, titles such as The Graduate, In the Heat of the Night, Midnight Cowboy, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. By 1978, the intrusive influence of United Artists' then parent company Transamerica resulted in a bitter public feud between the insurance conglomerate and Arthur Krim and Robert Benjamin, the two lead figures who, for 25 years, had turned the studio into a profitable, hit-making filmmaker's paradise. After the duo's departure, David Field and Stephen Bach were brought in as replacements. Eager to make their mark and not rely on legacy revenues in pre-existing franchises like Rocky and the James Bond series, Field and Bach were looking to make a mark in the industry. After attending a pre-screening of The Deer Hunter, the duo was blown away and were certain that they wanted to be in the Michael Cimino business. Cimino, in the meantime, was building momentum, and his name was attached to all kinds of projects, from Paramount's production of a Coppola-esque Godfather Part 3 to The King of Comedy, passing by a unique pitch to helm the then next entry in the George Lucas franchise, The Empire Strikes Back. But Cimino knew exactly what he wanted to direct as a follow-up to The Deer Hunter. In 1971, the ad director turned filmmaker had pitched an original script titled The Johnson County War. The script made a couple of rounds before being shelved after failing to attract any interest. Riding on the coattails of Thunderbolt and Lightfoot's success, Cimino pitched the project to 20th Century Fox, but far no better. Finally, leveraging his in-demand status, Cimino persuaded United Artists to back his pet project, now titled Heaven's Gate. The project was approved with an $11 million budget and a 17-week shooting schedule. After failing to nab Steve McQueen, Cimino announced his first casting picks. Chris Christopherson, who had a string of 3 back-to-back hits between 1976 and 1978, would take the lead role. And the director's Oscar-winning collaborator Christopher Walken was cast in a supporting role. As for the female lead, all of Hollywood's A-listing actresses passed on the role. Names such as Jane Fonda, Diane Keaton, Sally Field, and Ally McGraw all showed no interest in collaborating with Michael Cimino to bring his vision to life. That didn't bother the director in the slightest, for he had only one choice for the female lead role, French actress Isabelle Huppert. Field and Bach had their reservations. For starters, it didn't make any sense to have a French actress playing the role of a bordello's madam in Wyoming in the 1800s. Second, they didn't even know if she was able to speak English. A compromise was reached, with Cimino agreeing to test the actress, and if Field and Bach remained unconvinced, the director would recast the role. The trio flew to Paris, and their worst fears were confirmed. Huppert couldn't speak English. Huppert's casting proved to be the first issue in Heaven's Gate production, and a sign of things to come. Cimino went back on his word and insisted on casting Isabelle Huppert. It wasn't the first time the director reneged on his word. During the production of The Deer Hunter, Cimino had compressed and edited the film's oeuvre to appease the producers who felt the first section was long and unnecessary. During the film's production, the director ended up shooting the whole sequence as originally planned. Huppert's casting and Cimino's duplicitous personality worried United Artists executives. The duo expressed their concerns to Andy Albeck, the then studio head. Albeck believed in spreadsheets and numbers as the best predictors of commercial success. Artistry and creativity came in second. Field informed his boss that he could no longer be sure that Cimino would deliver the movie for $11 million. He was in fact not sure what the total cost would be. And in a strange twist of fate, for a brief period of time, diametrically opposed concepts would align: Cimino's fiscal recklessness and Albeck's financial conservatism. Field guesstimated that the movie would cost $20 million and would star a non-English speaking lead performing in English. Albeck gave his okay, stating he would be able to cover worst-case scenario costs with international sales, and that Isabel Huppert's appeal abroad would sell the movie in foreign markets. No doubt that the Deer Hunter's post-Oscar win box office performance, now totaling $50 million in revenues, roughly $250 million when adjusted to inflation, gave Albeck and United Artists top brass a good degree of confidence in Cimino's next project. Rounding up the cast were John Hurt as Irvine, the leading character's Harvard colleague and friend, Sam Waterston as a ruthless cattle baron, Jeff Bridges, who had starred in the director's debut feature film, and Academy Award nominee Brad Dourif. The cast also featured several then unknown actors like Willem Dafoe, Mickey Rourke, and Terry O'Quinn. Huppert was cast, Cimino's girlfriend Joan Corelli was appointed as the movie's producer, and the director had won the psychological battle against his two major opponents, Field and Bach. He had secured carte blanche to complete the picture with the December 1979 release date, just in time for the Oscars. But as the next few months would prove, Albeck and United Artists' trust was misplaced. Cimino had always envisioned Heaven's Gate as his Gone with the Wind and Dr. Zhivago, a grandiose epic in the grand tradition of classic Hollywood. Loosely based on real-life events and historical figures involved in an 1892 Johnson County War, Michael Cimino Heaven's Gate follows Harvard graduate James Averill, a man born into privilege who, through his sense of duty, became a marshal in Wyoming. He becomes embroiled in the tensions between European immigrants and the powerful cattle barons led by Frank Canton. Canton accuses the immigrants of stealing cattle and announces the Wyoming Stock Growers Association plans to kill 125 settlers, labeled as thieves and anarchists. The main executor of these orders is Nathan Campion, a friend of Averill and his main competitor when it comes to Ella Watson's affections. Watson, a Quebecois madame of a bordello who is infatuated with both Averill and Campion and accepts cattle as payment, is included in the infamous hit list. As violence escalates and innocent lives are lost, Averill seeks to mediate and prevent further bloodshed, but finds himself increasingly isolated and targeted by both sides. You would think that the plot's description would allow you to fathom the production's scale and scope. But not even the wildest imagination could capture Cimino's demands. The director was worried about scale, and also with precision, authenticity, and perfection. He wanted to deliver an immersive experience like no other, and that came with a cost. 1,200 extras of Eastern European heritage were brought into the production. When Harvard University refused to let the movie be shot there, Cimino relocated the production to Oxford, England, with an entire tree cut down, moved in pieces, and relocated to the UK. When a scene required a period steam engine, a whole locomotive was shipped all the way from Colorado. Cimino also ordered the construction of an irrigation system where an extensive battle scene would be shot to ensure the grass would be vividly green before it was turned red by the blood of the ensuing carnage. Perhaps the most extreme example of the director's madness, who in the meantime had been nicknamed by the production members as the Ayatollah, was the story of a specific set piece. Michael Cimino decided that the spacing between two buildings didn't look right. He ordered that both sides of the street to be completely destroyed and rebuilt at a cost of $1.2 million, circumventing the most logical and cost-effective solution, to knock down one side of the street and rebuild it twice as far away. Tales of verbal and physical abuse proliferated during the production. The directors dedicated to realism passed by ensuring that the cast took writing lessons, shooting lessons, wagon driving, dance instructions, roller skating tutorials, and Slavic dialect coaching. This success was nicknamed by those involved in the project as Camp Cimino. With the large majority of the scenes shot during the magic hour, a 5-minute period between the sunset and nightfall, and each scene averaging 50 takes, by the 6th day of filming, the project was already 5 days behind schedule. No doubt, United Artists and executives Bach and Field had a difficult decision in their hands. They wanted a movie, but they didn't want a movie at all costs. A containment strategy had to be developed. But the studio's top brass had a different idea. United Artists had just purchased the domestic distribution rights to Apocalypse Now, another notoriously troubled production that yielded great results. The studio thought it could back a title made under similar circumstances. Several options were considered, including firing Michael Cimino, selling half of the total production costs and domestic distribution to the Deer Hunter backers, EMI, or simply accepting the full cost, which was now estimated to be at $50 million, roughly $180 million when adjusted to inflation. The studio ended up firing Corelli and taking on the role of the movie's producers, effectively demoting Michael Cimino as Bach and Field's employee. Fearful of losing the final cut, the option to edit the movie as he saw fit, Cimino sped up principal production, which concluded in March 1980, with additional reshoots taking place during the year. The shooting would finally be completed in the summer of 1980, long after the original release date. Production took so long that actor John Hurt starred in another movie, David Lynch's The Elephant Man, during Heaven's Gate, principal photography. With a budget that had gone over 200%, an 156-day principal shooting schedule, way above the original 85 days, not counting reshoots, and over 1.5 million feet of exposed film, Heaven's Gate was now complete. But with the post-production and editing stages still ahead, the real nightmare was about to begin. Cimino spent the rest of 1980 editing his $44 million project. But way before United Artists' intervention, the movie had already gained its infamous reputation within the industry. By late 1980, Michael Cimino would present a 5-hour-long version to the shocked and appalled executive branch of United Artists. The director offered to trim an additional 15 minutes before being forced to cut the version even further. In November 1980, the infamous production would finally have its judgment day, as it would open to both critics and audiences, as a 3.5-hour movie. Critics were quick to pen decimating reviewings that killed any chance of success. After playing for just a couple of weeks in New York, the movie was removed from circulation at Cimino's request. The director wanted to recut the movie even more, and was now aiming to deliver a 2.5-hour-long version. But by this point, the die was cast. The 149-minute version opened in April 1981, but didn't perform any better. Not even being a contender at the 1981 Cannes Film Festival would save the movie's reputation in the domestic market. It was also during the Cannes Film Festival that the creative team behind Heaven's Gate heard about Transamerica divesting United Artists. The studio was being sold to MGM. Comments citing Heaven's Gate and Michael Cimino as the reason behind the decision also attacked the current state of Hollywood and how money and power being given to the creatives would be the death of the entertainment industry. The writing was on the wall, New Hollywood was dead, and Michael Cimino had killed it. But is Heaven's Gate as bad as critics portrayed in their reviews in 1980? Absolutely not. The movie went through a reappraisal process and is currently extremely well regarded. It may have a sluggish pace and be a tad bloated here and there, but as a revisionist piece about the challenges and internal turmoil of post-Civil War America, it is simply incredible. Cimino's movie plays out like an immersive experience courtesy of Vilmos Zsigmond's cinematography and a melancholic yet effective score by David Mansfield, who had replaced John Williams. The movie may not be strong in the lead acting department, with Chris Christopherson mumbling his way around scenes, something that doesn't hurt the movie as much as it should. Because at the heart of Heaven's Gate is a message and an idea. If Thunderbolt and Lightfoot was about loyalty, and The Deer Hunter was about friendship, then Heaven's Gate was all about hope. Something that both Cimino and United Artists had for the title. 1981 proved to be a life-defining year for Cimino. But if Heaven's Gate underperformance and United Artists' demise were all his fault, surely this would have been the end of his career. So how could the director have helmed another 4 projects in the following 15 years? Find out in the next episode.